Hi all, this is Skate, and obviously from that intro we are looking at the SU-100Y. I've actually had a lot of comments asking me to make this video, and a forum thread on the NA forum by 75th Division Commander. Well, my apologies it's taken me so long to get onto this video. But here it is, SU-100Y. It's not a bad tank by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it's very good, and it's very good fun. However, I don't play it much. Yet it's been in my account for years. In fact, it was one of the first premium tanks I acquired. But I've only got 187 battles in it. But again, it's not because I dislike the tank. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It's a very good tank. It's a very fun tank. But there's one problem with it, and that one problem is called the KV2. That's pretty much the only reason I don't play this as much. It's because I got a KV2 in the garage, and when you got a KV2 in the garage, well, if you want to play something Russian with a big old gun, you gotta play that. But again, that's not to say this isn't bad. In fact, this performs better than a KV2 in certain aspects. It's just overshadowed by said KV2. That was my logic in my head for it anyway. But yeah, when I looked at the last 90 days, how many people have played a KV2? 9,400. How many people have played this in the last 90 days? 3,015. Yet I'm willing to bet most of those drivers of the KV2s, those 9,400, probably have one of these in their garage, because it's a common drop from the crates, and it's a cheap, fun premium tank. And when you think about it, it's quite interesting it's turned out that way, because that's why this thing never saw production other than a prototype version. Basically, long story cut short, there was a T100 prototype, and they wanted to fit a 152mm high velocity cannon to it. So they built a big box on it, and they ended up sticking a 130mm B13 naval gun into it, which is the gun this thing has. But they abandoned this project, and the reason they abandoned the project in the end was because of the KV1 strapped up with 152mm, thus the KV2, and the KV2 was better. Although that being said, who has ever put the words high velocity in the same sentence as KV2? The two just don't go. You shoot a KV2 shell and it has one hell of an arc on it. I've actually seen the real SU-100Y, the prototype version, in real life. It is huge. I'll put up two photos I took when I was in Kabinka after this game has finished. Or if you want to see a little bit of video footage of the real thing, if you find my... Yeah, I had to get the ram kill, by the way. On the channel there is a video, Real Tanks in Russia, Skate Extreme, and in there is the SU-100Y. And the thing is huge in game, but it just doesn't put it into perspective of how big the real thing actually is. Especially when you stand next to it, it is absolutely enormous. And here's the real deal. It's not hard to see why they nicknamed this box tank, is it? It is an absolutely ginormous chunk of metal. In perspective, it's 10.9 meters long, it's 3.4 meters wide, and it was 3.29 meters high. But that's enough about the real tank, and that's enough about why we don't see it enough. Let's show you a battle with an SU-100Y and a KV2 in it. This is a very, very old battle. When I came to making this video, I found this clip on my computer. It's a game, I'm in a platoon with my other half, she is in the KV2 and I am in the SU-100Y. And we play a little bit too passive at the start of this game. And we end up in a sticky situation as a result. But box tank and KV2, with a bit of teamwork, do manage to pull through in the end. Or do they? Yeah, I'm not doing this cliffhanger thing. Yeah, it's a close one, but we do manage to pull it back in the end. Just watch though, it's an interesting one. So, although I said I prefer the KV2, which is why I don't play this thing as often, to the SU-100Y. There are some very unique and interesting traits about the SU-100Y. I mean, for starters, at tier 6, it's got 196mm of penetration, which is top of all tier 6 tank destroyers, except for the Churchill gun carrier, which has been massively overcompensated with its gun because the rest of the tank sucks. Oh no, I tell a lie. Nashorn has 203 as well. Aside from that, everything else it tops. In fact, this is something that now makes this tank very unique in Blitz. It's premium ammunition. Now the premium ammo on this has 171mm of penetration. Its standard ammo has 196, so you've got less pen. Yet, your stock alpha goes from 460 up to 530. Basically, you're getting more alpha for less penetration. In reality though, you pretty much use the premium as stock. This is one of few tanks I will carry a large amount of premium in. In fact, I carry more premium in this than I do standard ammo. And I know some people may be thinking, but it only has 171mm. 171mm at tier 6, especially if you're pointing at tier 5s by the way, is a very, very nice figure. In fact, if you think about it, you've got tier 7 ISs with 175mm of penetration. What else you got? Okay, I think oh no, there you go, Black Prince, got 171. Predator Marines thing, ugly tank, also box tank, but uglier. Ugly box tank, has 165. KV3 has 175. IS2 obviously has 175 as well. In other words, there's tanks at higher tier with pretty much the same penetration values. Except you trade in that. With this, you're getting 530 alpha instead of that 460, which boosts your DPM from 1,851 to 2,132. That's a lot of DPM for a tank destroyer with that much alpha at this tier. In fact, let's pick, oh, I don't know. Hang on, I'm looking through my list of tanks on the screen, and we're going to pick a Cromwell B, known for being that little bit OP, with its 145mm of penetration. 160 alpha, but it has 2,000 DPM. That's 132 less than this tank. Bearing in mind, most tanks, in fact nearly every tank in the game with massive alpha, has a massive reload. For its tier and for its alpha, it doesn't actually have that big a reload. I mean, you kind of expect this to be closer to something like the KV2s, especially as it's got the penetration to back it up, and it's got the reliability in its shots to back it up. In other words, it's got very, very respectable DPM. And it's just generally a nice tank all round. Except for, it's the size of a damn house, and it has only 60mm of armor over the entire thing. Which means you want to be avoiding those KV2s at all costs, because they do have the ability to one-shot you. Which really, really doesn't feel nice. Now, you may get lucky, they may hit the gun mantlet, and that's pretty much the only place people will bounce, by the way. Wiggle the tank and hope for shots to hit the gun mantlet, which happens. It does happen a surprising amount as well, providing you're wiggling. Sorry, just to say, if you look at the credits as well, even though we're firing the premium ammunition predominantly more than the other ammo, unless I want to guarantee it and they're below 460 health, then I'll use the AP because, well, it guarantees the kill. I still made 45,000 credits. So if you're playing this thing to make credits, I wouldn't worry about firing the premium. You're still going to make a boatload. So the way I like to play this tank is like a support tank for the first, I don't know, minute or two maybe, tops. Then I get bored and want to go. You can ram things in this. You'll notice I am running Adrenaline, Engine Boost, and the Multi-Purpose Restoration Pack. The reason I'm running the Engine Boost is purely to ram things, for no other reason. It can come in handy to escape things when things go horribly wrong, like they're going to in this game. But generally speaking, it's fun to click that ram button, because this thing's surprisingly mobile and it picks up acceleration-wise surprisingly quickly. So as far as this game goes, I want to support my 2 tanks which are down there. The rest of my team are working their way around the field. I say the field, it's a desert. The rest of my team are working their way around the desert, but my team have been overrun way too quickly by here, which means I am going to be the only target to all those tier 7 tanks coming around the corner now. So I am going to leg it. And they are going to spot me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because as you can see, the rest of my team is still working their way around. However, what they're going to see is a big squishy, alone, tier 6 tank destroyer running away. So they are going to hunt and they are going to chase me, which is quite clear from what's about to happen. People severely underrate the alpha of this though. And it's track traverse. You can get round surprisingly quickly. So what I've done is hidden behind a building, waiting for this guy to come around the building and shoot at me. I've kept hard cover near me so he can't do a full circle. He's got his clip off on me. I managed to ram for a little bit of damage, but that's all he's going to be able to do. And we're going to repeat the same thing for the next tank which pushes us. We're going to sit behind the building and act all scared and frightened like we're hidden. And then when he comes after us, well actually we'll address that tank first. But when the next tank comes after us, which is going to be an IS, we're going to act all afraid again. He's going to push around and we're going to manage to put another massive nasty alpha shot into him. Because the armor is so weak on this thing, people just think they're going to pop out and just whack you and you're scared and frightened, and we can put nasty shots in all day long. Granted, whatever shoots at you is probably going to penetrate you, but in this circumstance I'm mobile enough to chase this IS around the building, and I'm trying to get to him before he reloads, which I screwed up. So we're going to play the same game again. Hopefully he's going to pop his nose out, and as soon as he pops his nose out, which you can see he's trying to bait us, but 0.34 accuracy on a gun that big, yeah, we got him. Because that's the thing, it's tier 6 with 130 mil, capable of 530 alpha, yet it has a 0.34 accuracy. In perspective, the KV2 has, I think it's 0.4, let me double check now. 0.408, so it's a hell of a difference. You don't really expect a tank at this tier with that alpha, that gun, to have that good. Well, you kind of do, it's Russian. But you don't expect it to have that good alpha. I mean, look at that one again. We're firing at tier 7 tanks, we fired a lot of premium ammo, and one bounced and did no damage, and we still made 74,000 credits. Now 34 of that was from a mission, which means we made around 40,000. But yeah, the main difficulty with this tank is how difficult it is to hide it. I mean look, we're driving from a fair distance away and we were spotted by a tank just skipping by. So they know which way I'm heading and what direction, which is why I'm going to wait here a minute and then I'm going to go push. But the idea I tried to take with this, especially if you're making 530 alpha shots, is to trade my hit points for theirs. And it's best to do that with medium tanks. If there's a medium tank who's going to do 160 alpha, well, I'm going to do 530. Or get a really, really, really low roll and do 470. So that is the optimal way of playing this thing, is trading your hit points, which are there to be traded, and you've got a nice respectable 900 hit points, which means you can trade that for other tanks' shots, so you can get one into them and they can get one into you. You're going to win in the long run if you are in that circumstance. And then you've got the mobility to back that up. As I mentioned, it's surprisingly mobile, which means you can flank in this thing and you can get places quickly. And my favourite thing to do is support my medium tanks in this. Supporting the medium tanks, you're quick enough to roll with the medium tanks. But if you think medium tanks are usually the fastest firing, but yet do the smallest amount of damage, you're trading very, very high amounts of damage to them for their 160 alpha shots. And in fact, you don't even care if they get 2 into you at that point. They're also the tanks you're most likely to be able to ram. And let's be fair, well, I say most likely to ram. You can ram them for the most amount of damage. Because well, let's be fair, tier 6, like most tiers in Blitz at the moment, are absolutely crawling with light and medium tanks. Which a lot of people think, oh, well, I can't play tank destroyers in that case, especially turretless ones. Turretless tank destroyers are probably my favourite class of tank. Technically, we'll say self-propelled gun, but they're my favourite class of tank. And yet, the key things to just remember is hard cover at all times on one side of your tank, or close enough that when you see something coming at you, you can get close to that hard cover. As soon as you let yourself out of hard cover, the enemy knows that you're an easy target. Even with your good traverse for such a big tank, it's still not fantastic enough to stop anything circling you, which is why you do need that hard cover. And then towards the middle end of the game, I have no objections whatsoever personally with absolutely going hell for leather and charging everything I possibly can. And the reason being is because, well, you have the size and the weight as demonstrated here to do the damage and to absorb the damage. We just rammed a tier 7 T-29 heavy tank and we didn't die. But again, 45,000 credits and we did 2,600 damage. We did a fair amount of damage to tier 7 tanks as well, which makes all the difference when it comes to credits and experience. But that's an SU-100Y in a nutshell for me. Keep hard cover next to you, that way you can duck back in behind it after making one hell of a nasty shot on something. Trade your hit points if you have to, ram things. Generally have fun in this tank. Bean isn't going to ramble on for a moment, as I usually do. I thought I'd just include a bit of footage from when I was in Russia. Obviously the video started with an SU-100Y, so it made sense to include this little clip. Obviously that's the SU-152. But here's the thing with the SU-100Y. It's a good starter practice tank to get you up the line of Russian turretless tank destroyers, because the guns are very much alike, just with different alpha values, different penetration values. But the one notable thing is the fact that the tech tree tanks have more armor than the SU-100Y. They also have a shed ton more camo. In fact, I would go as far as saying, yeah, sorry about the thumb. I would go as far as saying they are better in every single way than the premium version. But the premium version, due to its DPM, and the fact it's Russian, and the fact it's just a damn good tank. So it's a fun tank, it's good to make credits, and it's a very, very nice practice tank for the Russian tank destroyer line. So if you haven't been down it and you want to practice for it, jump in an SU-100Y, get comfortable with that thing, and the tech tree versions will feel like an absolute breeze in comparison. I mean, my opinion is the key thing to focus on is learning that pop around a corner. Hopefully you can surprise people and make a massive alpha shot. Check out the IS-4 and IS-7, by the way. Obviously there was a 704 and different variations of the SU and ISU are in this haul. And there is a 268 and a couple of other things. But yeah, SU-100Y, it's a nice way of learning the art of trading that hit point for a massive hit point shot on someone in return. And that's a way I like to play the Russian tank destroyer line. Or it's that surprise, and the surprise... Check out that haul, by the way. Every time I look at this little clip, it's just... it's just like a hell of a nice place for any tank nut in the world to be. Especially if you are a fan of Russian armor. But yeah, it's not the only trait of the tank destroyer line, the Russian tank destroyer line, or the SU-100Y. There are other tricks, like it's the surprise shot. We're using its mobility to get somewhere quickly and set up that initial ambush shot. Separate to that though, throughout the game, people are going to know where you are because you're going to stay spotted in Blitz an awful lot. So you want to stay near cover, pop out, make that alpha shot, and they can't circle you when you're around cover because, well, you can just back it up. Oh, there's the Object 268, by the way. But yeah, you can just swing it round and keep them from doing that full circle. And hopefully be able to get that massive second alpha shot into them by the time they have managed to get round your tank and realise they can't circle you. All in all, though, it's a tank which you can actually just go out and have fun in. I have compared it to the KV-2 a lot, purely because this gets forgotten, I think, because it is outshined by the KV-2, purely because fun factor. But yet this thing's got the mobility, it's got better traverse, it's got better penetration, it's got a better reload. You're not going to have a bad time in the SU-100Y, unless you do see a KV-2 and you are not smart enough to get out of its way or run away from it. But you can have a lot of fun in these things. But that's it for this video. It's going to go on forever otherwise. Thank you all very much for watching it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, no surprise, turned into a bit of a ramble. Thank you all for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.